Alright, welcome back chemistry teachers. We just finished up our video on the curriculum landing page and now we're moving on to the pacing guide. This is where you'll actually see your daily lesson planning is going into place for each day, each week, and all your resources are going to be gathered together. So starting up at the top, you've got your title and what it is all about. And actually this is a link to the Module 2 Science Notebook. This is a good graphic organizer. I'll open it up. You can find this actually on the McGraw-Hill page, but anything that's on our McGraw-Hill resource that can be downloaded, I've already downloaded, merged it into some Google Drive folders, and linked to them in our resource. So at least the parts that can be downloaded are easily accessible to you. This covers all of Module 2, so actually this would be the first, what do they call them, modules and lessons. So if you want to get them separated out, you can do that as well. But you can see how this is like getting to know, name it, some graphic organizers, answering questions. These are actually supposed to kind of go along with your notes and with the book. So if you want students to have these as you go out, you can. And notice now we're into the second lesson. So you don't need to print out this whole document and hand it to students. Maybe do them one at a time, but maybe you can find some good use for how to utilize those for students to keep some nice notes. And then if you need the answers for all that, the answer key is going to be here for you. Moving down below that, you have your objectives. So these are written in ICANN language. So basically, these can be used for adding onto your board what the objective for the day is, put it into your lesson plan. Feel free, if you add them into your lesson plan, tweak it to make sure that it really reflects what you're doing in your class. But to help make sure that you're using the right objective, you'll notice that these are numbered. As you come down to each of the different lessons, this one is objectives 1 through 3 are found in this little lesson. So you know that while I'm there, I'm going to be following these 3 objectives. So that should be helpful in pinpointing exactly what objective you're doing with your different lessons. Each module comes with some guiding phenomena suggestions. Basically, how could I introduce this module in a way that gets students thinking? They don't really have the answer to the question yet, and I talked a bit about this on the scope and sequence video. But then by the end of this module or lesson, they'll be able to answer that question. So there's more details on this in the book and online if you want to look into those. I did try to snag the picture of what this was talking about, so you can see that there. Then you got your standards that are related to this topic. Again, helpful for your lesson planning. And so that's all kind of like, here's all my objectives and standards and kind of getting set. But then my actual resources come here. So starting over here on the right, this is our Inspire Chemistry. We'll start off over here. I've listed out what resources they have available to you on their side of things. If you click on this is the PowerPoint for this particular lesson. All the lessons for Inspire Chemistry have a separate video that will actually open up Inspire and showcase how all that works. But it follows the 5 E's. So engage, explore and explain, elaborate, evaluate. Typically the engage is just like a one-off little activity. The elaborate, I've actually just written out the question here because that's all elaborate is just them answering this question. So I wrote it out. Maybe not the best to do online. You could have this done on paper as a class discussion. But just so you know, doing the elaborate on the resource, there's not a huge benefit to doing it. It's just a text box for students to type in. Where you get the most use of our resource is in the Explore and Explain, because they have various activities that have little simulations, little videos, animations that go along with questions. So I would suggest pulling in these activities into your Canvas course, having students do them, have it part of your lesson, is showcasing these, because these are actually pretty good for using on the resource. And then the evaluate, the flashcards aren't anything spectacular. And then you could definitely use the lesson check. Maybe don't use them as is because maybe you didn't cover everything. But that's a good spot where you could go steal some questions as exit tickets or do nows. So do check that out on the actual webpage. I can't download that one. I can download the answer key, so that's the answer key here. But you'd actually have to go online to look at the questions. But I have a whole video on using Inspire Chemistry, so go check that out. And then you see, boom, that's the end of that lesson, on to the next lesson, and that just repeats. So now you can kind of see you have some resources within Inspire Chemistry to start with, not to mention you have the book, you have your PowerPoint, you have that note sheet, the guided notebook. So you have those things as your core to start with. And then as we come over here to the left, now we have some additional resources that we can pair up to make engaging lessons. So starting off, I've got some video resources over here on the left that correlate with what you're learning about. These are good for if chemistry is not really your topic, now you can review and learn. If they're short videos, you could play these as little snippets in class. So see, this one's only 3 minutes. Maybe I'll just play that in class. Some of the longer videos, let's see here. His are typically pretty long. Like this is 10 minutes. Maybe if I've assigned some homework, I'll also add this in on my Canvas pages. By the way, if you have questions, or if you forgot something, check out this video and that might answer your questions. I'd use it like that. Or if it's a good video but a bit longer, feel free to either look for it on Nearpod or you can add it in yourself. And then you can put pause points in the videos that ask questions for students. And that might be a useful way of using those videos. Moving over to the right, now we have our hands-on activities and our virtual labs. So all of your PhET labs, all of your gizmos, I've already kind of highlighted here as things that you can use. If it just says lab, then these are labs from the actual chemistry resource. And if you click on this, that'll get you to a Word doc that you can download that has the lab. And then if you click on the little icon, that's your teacher's key for that lab. So that's probably something most people didn't know, is that you can click on the icon and get the teacher's key for that lab. Again, these are available on Inspire online, but since all you're doing is downloading them off of the web page, I've already done that, organized it in Google Drive, and listed them here. One thing I want to do with the labs though is they give a lot of labs, and so I'm going to go through with some of our teachers to kind of cut out some of the ones that don't really make sense. So hopefully there won't be as many listed. You might occasionally also see these MoLeap. These are activities that were created by the state, very standards-based. Could be very useful for practicing for kind of, I know we don't do the physical science test, but building up to the life science biology test, those would be useful. So you'll find all sorts of resources there, and hopefully some of the labs you can utilize. Next up, you have study.com and Nearpod. There'll be separate videos for each of these in this video playlist of trainings, so do check that out. I just want to highlight that in here I've highlighted, here's a study.com lesson that you could utilize, and so boom, there you go. These are videos that they have quizzes, you can embed questions, they have activities, check for understanding. The videos are high quality, so study.com has some great resources. And then Nearpod, they also have lessons, which are PowerPoints. They have videos, and these have pause points already built into them. And they also have activities, which are like good reviews. I didn't list out every single possible study.com or Nearpod activity available, so I'm just going to showcase that real quick. If I open this one up by clicking on that logo, you'll see that this takes you to a high school chemistry course. I'm not currently logged in, so it's going to look different when you're logged in. But there's an entire course here, full, like a periodic table. Here's a whole unit over periodic table and all that information. So I'm just highlighting a few of these lessons, but I mean there are a ton of things here for you if you want to go finding more. The same thing applies with Nearpod. I've gone through Nearpod's resources that we have available to us, and I've just listed a few, but I've organized into folders based off each module and lesson, more resources available to you. So if I go to, actually, don't click this logo, you can, that'll get you to, hey, here's all of chemistry. But if you actually click on, I want to show this, where it has this folder, if I click there, that's going to take me into my specific unit and specific module. Here we go. And so now you see we're in Module 2, and you see how many resources I have available to you already pre-made. Once you get used to using Nearpod, you can actually edit these. You can create your own stuff, but here's a bunch of pre-made material for you that you can utilize to help your students learn more. Whole separate video on those two, as well as gizmos, so feel free to check those out. And then as you come down to the end, they have a study guide, there's vocabulary practice, and each module has a test. Whether or not you do that test is up to you, but I am pulling questions from these for the district test, so those are good things to assign to students, even as a practice, so that they see those questions. And then you're on to the next module, and it repeats itself, all the same stuff, until you get to the last one where it says, hey, don't forget about that unit project. And then, hey, if I'm ready for quarter 2, I can click on this and that'll take me over to quarter 2. If I just want to get right back up to the top, I can click this and beam me up. I'm back up to the top of the document. So that's the suggested pacing guide. I just want all of our available resources in front of you so that it's easier when you're lesson planning to make engaging and rigorous content for your students, and you don't have to spend time on recreating the wheel. So hopefully you guys find this useful. Check out the other videos for these other resources, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.